mystery out of love. Breathe into life in my lungs. Why would I ever run? You brought new light. Whoa, whoa, but there's no mistaking. You're the only one I want. The only one I want. Come light a fire, burn like the rising sun. I never thought I'd find you, but here you are, flowing like a river, washing over my soul, calling me home. You are a mystery. Whoop-a-ba-da-da-da. Where did you come from? I never knew that love would shine like the sun, shine like the sun. Come light a fire, burn like the rising sun. I never thought I'd find you, but here you are, flowing like a river, washing all over my soul, calling me home, calling me home.
good, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish to get started today. We appreciate, we still have a number of people coming in, and so we will continue to have people moving in and out as we move forward. I first want to tell everyone that the people viewing on Instagram, that at the 1 hour mark, we will lose the connection and we'll sign in again. This will create only a short glitch, but you can also view on KenoshaForward.com. I also wish at this time to thank Journey Church for hosting the first listening session planned for and we've got 3 more planned for the following Sundays. So there'll be 4 listening sessions in total in which the public will be able to participate and also be able to do so online. The sessions are listening sessions. The assistant chief and I are here to listen to what you have to say. And so there will be no discussion. We are here to listen to what you have as to concerns for the community as we move forward. And I also then again want to thank the church for allowing us to be here. I also want to thank the aldermen who have been at the doors, who are doing the testing, and I appreciate their help and cooperation, along with all the volunteers that are here today that are making this session so that it works and works well. I also want to, at this time, have a statement I will be reading from the Department of Justice. I wish to clarify the role of the U.S. Department of Justice in today's listening session. The Department's Community Relations Service helped organize today's listening session, but the U.S. Department of Justice remains neutral and takes no positions on policies or changes that Kenosha may make or want to make. The U.S. Department of Justice did not and will not provide any input in Kenosha Commitments to Action Roadmap. It will be for Kenosha residents to decide that action that they take. So I wanted to make sure that that was also cleared up in the sense of what the Department of Justice is doing. Behind me you see basically at the beginning of this I said welcome. And welcome isn't the right word as far as I'm concerned. The word really is thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for giving us your input as to what is going on in our community. We are facing many issues in this country. And it's not going to stop just because people want to maybe say, it'll solve itself, it'll go away. It's not going to go away. We, as a nation, must start to deal with issues of racism. We, as a nation, must start to deal with the issues of violence. We, as a nation, need to start dealing with our young people and how we give them hope as to what is going to occur and what their futures are. That is the responsibility of all of us here today. So as I open this up to a listening session, it's not just a listening session. It's the beginning of healing, and it's the beginning of change. And that, to me, is the most important thing that we all are going to be doing here today. So with that, Pastor Bob, would you lead us in prayer?
Thank you. God, we thank you for the opportunity to be here together to share and to look forward, to be able to talk and to pray for healing and unity. And so, God, we just pray that you would use us and that you would help move our city forward in this moment. We just give you the thanks. We just pray this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce the co-facilitator, Reverend Roy Peoples, pastor of Turning Point Life Church. Pastor Peoples.
I want to say thank you, Mayor, for all that you do for the city of Kenosha. I want to start out by saying I'm so glad to see everyone here and to participate in this listening session. One of the things I want to start with, I want to give you 3 words as I explain exactly what the roadmap is. The first thing is a path, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And then we got a vision, but we got a call also. So if you can write those 3 words down, it's going to be a path, a vision, and it's going to be a call. The roadmap, or should I say, the commitment to action roadmap, is one of the ways to move Kenosha forward as a community. We talk about healing. We talk about being united. And we're talking about charting a better course where there is inclusion, equality, and equity for all of Kenosha residents. And we think that this is important and it's critical part of the roadmap in making this community, having this community to be a listening session and to be whole. We want to provide a place where the individuals can come and to hear each other and voice their let's say opinion or their solutions and answers to what we're doing in the city. Well, the purpose of the listening session then is to allow the residents of the city of Kenosha an opportunity to have a voice and to hear from each other through a facilitated listening process. With that being said, it's only 2 words that comes out of that for me. I want to understand, and I want to be understood. And if I'm going to be understood and understand, then we must all have the ability to really care. That is the path. Let's talk about the vision. The vision would be charting a better course for Kenosha, where there is inclusion, equality, and equity. We keep going over these words because these words are important. It's a time. Time is now to imagine what kind of Kenosha we want to build, a community where all citizens can live equally, safely, and freely. Then the call to us all is this, is that everyone, whether it's the faith-based leaders, it's the churches, it's individuals, it's business, it's groups, it's organizations, and government, to work together to root out this tragic and painful effects of the systemic racism throughout our community. We ask, here's our ask, we ask everyone to commit to join us through the fight of creating a more equal and just community for all the Kenosha citizens. We ask everyone to work together to recognize the humanity of every person so it honors the dignity of all its people. And so with that being said, can you imagine a Kenosha where everyone is working towards one goal, and that we would unite to heal and move Kenosha forward? With that, I'm going to call Ken Bertram to the mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we do the work. I'm here to facilitate and help everyone have voice in this process. So I know you came today to give your voice and your opinion, but I'm going to tell you about who I am and how you can use me this afternoon. The Community Relations Service is the peacemaker for community conflicts and tensions arising out of differences of race, color, national origin. It was created with the Civil Rights of 1964 to address racial tension, violence, and disorder. We're dedicated to assist state and local governments, private and public organizations, and community groups with preventing and resolving racial and ethnic tensions, incidents, and civil disorder, and restoring racial stability and harmony. As a third-party neutral, our role only today is to facilitate a community listening session. CRS, the acronym for Community Relations Service, does not give advice, respond to public comment, or offer input. Furthermore, CRS does not investigate, prosecute any matters. Our sole purpose today is to facilitate a listening session for the City of Kenosha so the mayor might be informed by you about community tensions in this city. At this time, we're going to begin that process. So, thank you for being here, and I'm going to facilitate with Reverend Peoples. We have 2 mics. This is going to be mic number 1. That is going to be mic number 2. There are some ground rules that I want to cover before we get started. The ground rules essentially are that we're going to practice social distancing at all times. I'm going to ask that you silence your phones. There's a 2-minute rule with the mic. I know that you have a lot to say. I know you might be passionate about what you might want to offer. With the 2-minute rule, we may at times switch from mic 1 to mic 2 to allow everyone an opportunity to have to say what they want to say. And if you go beyond that, the mic might be cut. We ask that there be no interruptions or character assassinations. We want to listen and hear. I want you to listen and hear if someone has said what you might want to make a suggestion or comment about. Rather than be duplicitous, try to focus on what it is that you want to have a comment about. The speakers today are City of Kenosha residents only. We want to give them a first chance to say what they have to say because we know that the nation is watching as well. And with that said, we did have a process where we were going to select names, but at this point, with the numbers that we have, we're going to ask that we weigh in on the side of decorum. I'm going to ask that we line up 5 at a time, social distancing. And when we finish the 5 on this side, we'll go to 5 on that side, and we'll alternate one back to the other. I have 5 questions that we want you to ask. If I can have that slide. Feel free to comment, and this just helps you to frame what it is that you want to bring. These 5 questions are, and it might not be your question or it might not be what you want to say, but this is how we're going to capture it. And your statement today is going to be captured, and we're going to put it on the screen, and these things will roll up into the commit to action plan, right?
That's correct.
And the commit to action plan, your statements will be reviewed as part of that.
Yes, sir.
So that's the value of the listening session. In other words, what you're saying today it does have note and has some validity. In other words, you're going to be heard. So look at the questions. And it doesn't have to be in any particular order. What do you like and love about Kenosha? How do you feel about the events in the past several weeks following the shooting of Jacob Blake? What are your concerns and fears about the protest and the riots? What is the one thing you want to share that Kenosha has to do to move forward? What's your recommendation? What will you bring about? What would you do to bring about healing and unity in Kenosha? And those things can be captured in the Commit to Action plan as we roll those up into that. Let's get started. I need 5 people who are Kenosha residents to line up on mic number 1, social distancing, keep your mask on at all times. Simultaneously, I need 5 people on this side to line up at mic number 2. And we're going to alternate side to side. When you come to the mic, give your name and the ward that you live in the city of Kenosha. Good afternoon, ma'am. Your name and the ward you live in?
Does it move down?
I'm sorry?
Does the mic move down?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Diamond Hartwell. I live in Alderman Keith Rosenberg's district. I'm not sure what ward that is, 61 or 2. I'm not exactly sure. There's a lot of things that I want to say today, but we are in a church and we are going to keep it very cordial. So one thing that I just really want to focus on that's going to move Kenosha forward, 2 things primarily. First is the availability of affordable and trustworthy mental health resources in our city. I sat at the county board meeting last week and a gentleman gave his testimony. 2 gentlemen gave their testimonies. One was blank face, no emotion, as he was telling the story of how he watched those 2 protesters get killed in front of him. That's traumatic. And he didn't have any emotions in it. He needs mental health. Mental health resources. The second gentleman told a story about being both beaten and sexually assaulted by the police. Some people made jokes about it, but I didn't find it funny. I didn't find it funny at all. He needs help. His testimony screamed that he needs help. And it's not just the people who you can see and hear in their voices, see on their faces that they need help. It's people all in our community and all throughout Kenosha who need these mental health resources, but especially our Black and brown people who can't afford to go to KCHC for $25 each visit. And let's be honest, there's only one psychiatrist, I don't even think she's a psychiatrist, there's one psychologist at KCHC. And while she's wonderful, one person for our population of underprivileged people who don't have enough money to go to Aurora or Frederick South, it's not enough. We need mental health access, and we need it now. And the second thing is the skyrocketing cost of rent in Kenosha. We cannot afford to live in Kenosha anymore, and that is a problem. Thank you.
Mike 2.
My name is Gary Ritchell, and I live over off of 84th Street. I don't know what ward that is. I'd like to begin by declaring that Black Lives Matter. And I believe that our community can start healing if the change starts at our police department. Police reform will be the key to the fundamental change required for meaningful acceptance. I think that the starting point would be that the racial diversity in the community match the diversity at the police force. We have a rather large white diversity within the police department. It doesn't match, with our community itself. There's a very large, from what I read, there's 207 police in our community, of which 7 are Black, which is, it's just not going to work. I think that's where we should start, is to build a better diversity of white versus Black versus Latino. And that's what I came to say.
Much appreciated. Thank you, sir. Mic number 1,
I go off these things, right?
whatever you want to say, ma'am.
Oh, well, I can't really say what I love about Kenosha right now at the moment. How do I feel about the events? I don't know, really. Oh, I'm Portia Bennett. I'm in 7th District, Uptown.
7th District? Okay. Thank you.
I don't have any fears about the protests because they're nonviolent and I'm a part of them.
What did you want to say?
What I wanted to say?
Yes.
Well, what I feel should be brought forth, which a lot of people haven't been discussing it, but me being me, I do a lot of homework. So there was a Policing Accountability and Transparency Reforms Act brought forth by Governor Evers and Lieutenant Governor Barnes on Juneteenth. And I just feel like this is the answer for a lot of the problems that we're having with the police force today. This right here will actually help with a lot of things going on.
Did you want to leave that for?
Oh, he can get a copy. He's not
Okay,
getting one.
thank you.
Okay. But this right here, I'm sure they have it though.
We're sure we got it.
But this right here needs to be put forth. If others don't have access to it, I can make ways to make copies of it. But this is important. And that's all I have to say.
My name is Rochelle Anderson Moore. I live on the north side. I don't know what district that is. My concerns and fears about the protests and riots, I don't have any fears of protest. My concern regarding, I'll say riots that appeared to take place, that they were not necessarily people of Kenosha. And the particular night that the shooting happened that involved the young man, I was laying in my bed and I kept thinking to myself, all I keep hearing is cease and dismiss, cease and dismiss, cease and dismiss. And I looked at the crowd and what I saw were majority white people there. And in my mind I thought, if that was a group of black people who were out there after curfew, who knows what it would have looked like. There would have been more shooting. We would have been dead. And so my other thing about when we first went out that first night in protest, it bothered me that our police were there in military gear, like they were going for some fight. And all we were there was to let our voices be heard and basically just be around each other and protest peacefully. And so when they started shooting the bombs and then the smoke, the tear gas, it just aggravated people. And so I think there were things that were done that left people aggravated rather than okay. And I'm not sure, well, I'll mention it anyway, and you tell me if I need to stop. When the mayor, the day that you said that we were waiting for you to speak, first it was in the municipal building, then the time changed, and then it was always gonna be at the park, and then it got moved to the safety center. All those different things that happened, of us not seeing your face and not hearing you, because when we did go over there, some people didn't even know you were there because people crowded you. And then the next thing people saw was you going into the building, and that just irritated people to the utmost because we wanted to hear from you. We wanted to hear from our community leaders. And so if anything, we need to just make sure that everything is just as apparent as it can be and not things hidden. And so that's what I have to say right now.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Mic number 1.
Okay. My name is Brian Little. I am in Ron Frederick's district. I'll go through the questions that we got here. So, what do I love about Kenosha? At this moment, nothing. I'm ashamed of our city. How do I feel about the events of the past several weeks? I think it created a bigger division that's been here in Kenosha. My concerns about and fears about the protests and riots, again, I'll echo what Rochelle said. I don't fear any of the protests, but with the riots, I think it kind of peeled back a layer of Kenosha that's been bubbling up underneath for a while now. What is one thing I want to share that Kenosha has to do moving forward? We have to be open to having conversations, the tough conversations that really do plague the city. And what will I do to bring healing and unity? I'll keep doing what I've been doing all summer, which is holding the leaders, mayor, you, accountable, and kind of like Rochelle said, we want to hear you, we want to see your face. It shouldn't have took you as long as it did for you to come out and address the public and address the people, because that kind of created more unrest. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Can I have the next 5 line up at mic number 1? Yes, sir. Mic number 2, and then 5 more here.
I'm Alvin Owens, guest District 7 over by the Boys and Girls Club. So the 2 things that I want to share is communication is key. We the people, and the world should know this since the world is watching, we the people have nonviolently protested and also have been doing food give backs every time we've been getting word, like when the president came and when other things that we keep hearing, and support the blue and things like that to cause division. And we all support the blue, just like we want everybody to support Black Lives Matter. What we've been doing in the communities is serving lunches, free meals, giveaway. We've been doing cleanup block drives in not only one area, but not only in Uptown and other areas throughout, but we've been going throughout the cities, been doing that. And we've been doing most of that out of the collective over across the street from the Boys and Girls Club, a new business that I opened. Started as a barbershop that grew into an action place. So that's what the world should know, that Kenosha residents and leaders have been working together and just been doing positive things for our community. And yet, you know, you have officials all the way up at the top saying that we're protesting and we're violent, and that is just not the true story of Kenosha. The other thing is that I'm a licensed barber. I'm a master barber, and I took 2,000 hours of training for plus continuing education hours to become a master barber. That's where I could teach and get people licensed. Police hours in the state of Wisconsin went from 500 hours to 750 for basic training. I have more hours to tell the difference between microbiology and anatomy with barbering, and yet our police force have not even at 1,000 hours. I'm a licensed barber, I cut hair. And I have more training than our actual police. We really need to look at that and see how we could better give our police department officers more training so they could be helped to serve and protect, to actually fulfill their job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good comment. Yes, sir. Mic number 1.
Yes, my name is Paul, and I would like to speak about this Jacob Blake being injured, and they keep saying they want to have justice for this gentleman, and I believe they should have justice. The man was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He had a order to stay away from where he was at. He did not follow that. The woman of the house, the lady of the house, left and called the police and tried to get this man removed. The police come, they tried to remove him, and disruption ensued. And anyway, they tased him twice, tried to stop him and arrest him for a felony violation. And if you have a felony warrant out for you, it's not for jaywalking. It's not for spitting on the street. This is a very serious matter. And then he goes out, has a knife, and in the video I saw of him with the knife out, and it's not your regular hunting knife or fishing knife or fillet knife, it's a fighting knife. It's a weapon. And the police officers had to watch what they were doing so this guy wouldn't cut him. They try to stop when they get in the car. When he goes into the car, I don't know what happened because I could not see that. But they shot him. This man is purposely went against the law enforcement. He purposely tried to hurt people. And I feel that they should prosecute this person for his crimes and get a judgment. For the simple reason is, this will put a notice to all the people doing crime, to stop the crime.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mic number 2.
I'm Kyle Flood, 3rd District, Ward 9. What do I like and love about Kenosha? A lot of things, especially our local music scene. Don't mess it up with not letting bars have cabaret licenses past midnight. How do we feel about the events of the past several weeks? Kind of traumatized. I was out there every night. I saw a lot of things. What are my biggest concerns about the protests? Absolutely nothing. I'm a part of them. About the riots, the police violence. I was tear gassed myself 4 times. I have to trust the officers that may have thrown tear gas canisters at me now? How? I saw people with hit by rubber bullets who had their arms broken, who got hit in the eyes. How do they trust the police now when they're that violent towards peaceful people and towards medics and towards press? There's a lot of things that Kenosha needs to do to move forward, so I can't just say one. And what will I do to bring healing and unity? The same thing I've been doing recently. I'll keep these protests going. I'll make sure they continue. And I'll keep advocating like I have for the past 10 years. So what do we really need to change? First, Mr. Mayor, we had a meeting about 5 years back. I told you that we needed gender-neutral bathrooms downtown. I told you that we needed to decriminalize marijuana, stop prosecuting it. You laughed at me. We still need to do those things. We also need to decriminalize all drugs and start pushing people towards treatment, not jail. The city can do that, and we need to do it. It's just decriminalization, not legalization. On top of mainly what we need to do in order to address homelessness, addiction, mental health, the city needs to invest in social services and stop passing the buck to the county. Create a social services budget for the city. You can legally do it. Do it. And as for Jacob Blake, we need justice for Jacob Blake. No cop has the right to shoot a man in the back 7 times, whether he has a warrant, no matter what. Justice for Jacob Blake.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? Your name and your ward?
No name. The fact that you have these questions up is
You can say whatever you want.
disrespectful to this community. The police is the problem.
Okay.
This man shot and killed him. I don't care about what this other, I don't know what his name was, made no sense what he said. That man did not deserve at all to be shot 7 times. Focus on the problem and stop spreading towards every other issue that we have to address already. Focus on one. You want the protest to stop? You want the rioting that you so-called rioting and looting to stop? Then solve the problem. Stop playing with the community and constantly making a mockery of them, pretending to ask and care what their demands are when you know what the demand is. It is very clear. This man needs to be arrested. This is not humane. What are you doing to these people, playing with their emotions and playing with their motivation and energy and efforts towards trying to make change genuinely, yet you sit there and you do nothing about it but ask and ask and ask for their demands over and over and over as if you don't know what they are? Focus. One point only. This is what's going on right now, the rioting, the protesting. All these problems are happening right now because of what happened to Jacob Blake. So handle that. We can talk about everything else later. Handle that. Calm the community down. Let them know that you are backing them. Have the police officers have real community events with people. Not competitive, I know I've heard, I'm not sure, and I didn't check the sources, and I'm not into politics. But I understand that you've done some kind of police and community basketball tournament. You put them against each other. Don't do anything competitive. Bring the police into the communities that need it the most, the ones that they so-called, this is, for me to even have to say this is ridiculous. For people to have to go out of their way and do this, it's ridiculous. You need to be more human and stop playing with people. Handle the problem, solve the main concern. Arrest this man. Arrest him. Charge him and convict him the way you would anybody else. Keep it simple and focus on the police building a relationship with the community. That way there's no fear in between. There's communication. There's events.
Thank you.
Stop playing with...
Next comment, mic number 1.
Hello, my name is Jocelyn Williams. I'm a pastor at Coleman Chapel AME Church. I have several of my congregation here with me today. I am a fairly new pastor to the area. I've been here since January of this year. And since being here, I've noticed that much of the city is divided. There's a Democratic and there's a Republican. There's a black, there's a white. And it seems that we don't recognize that what has happened to Jacob Blake is against all humanity. It isn't necessarily against one particular group, even though we are the ones who are most vocal about it because we see ourselves in this young man being shot, and ultimately his life could have been taken. Regardless of what someone else says that they see in the video, what we do know is that this young man was shot several times in the back and now can no longer walk. What do I feel that Kenosha needs to do moving forward? My biggest concern has to do with the areas that were burned down, where we saw that there was businesses of people of color, there were women who had businesses there were people who will no longer have those businesses again. Will you open those businesses? Will you promote that they be given to, or that space be given to minority people? Will you promote that those spaces be given to women, that we can bridge this divide that is ultimately happening? I feel that that area may end up getting priced out of what it is that we can do and what we can provide, that while this was a black community that was burned down, these were black businesses that were burned down, will that land, right, will we be able to go back there? Will we be able to rebuild there again? Or will it be not economical for us to rebuild there and to give our people something here, to give the people of Kenosha something here? Our businesses aren't just for us, they're for anybody who wants to patronize them. But if we don't have places where we can go, where we have products for ourselves, where we have a demographic that talks and speaks to us and represents us, we go someplace else. And Kenosha deserves for us to be here as well.
Thank you. Are there other comments? Did you come to listen, or did you hear? Can you say more? If you haven't, then yes, ma'am. I can't hear you. Okay, very good. Are there any other comments? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Are you a Kenosha resident? Okay. Tell you what, I'll walk to you.
Thank you. My name is Cynthia West. I'm a longtime resident. I don't care about districts or whatever. It's where I've lived all my life. I'm concerned, Mayor, for all these years that I've been here. I'm 61 years old. I have not seen not one person of color that you took under your wing to train them, to acknowledge, like a summer program that you took and you trained a person of color ever. I have not seen any other politicians train, acknowledge, go into the schools and bring a young person, a young black man, a young teenager under your wings. I have not seen that. I have not seen where you come out and check us out from time to time. The older people have to call all the time. about where I live. And I live on 54th and 22nd. That park, Columbus Park, could be utilized a lot more. And it just sits vacant all the time. They let the dogs out to do their business in the grass. How can young black kids who want to do something, kickball, basketball, football, how can they get out there and utilize that ground? There's bathrooms there. They're always locked up. I'm a grandmother. I can't go far because I have to go and take care of what I need to take care of. And I can't do it. I can't stay at a park long. I can go to Petrifying Springs all the time, and I'm looked sideways, like, what are you doing here? Come on now. We are in Kenosha. Some of us born and bred. Some of us are transits. However we got here, we're here. We're here. I love the lake. And all summer long, I took a ride down by the lake, and it was cut off. Cut off. I can't walk far. I want to go down there and see the water. Why was that done? I'm saddened by this community. I'm saddened at the fact that they burned it down. I'm so sad because guess what? Somebody could have died in those fires. Those children could have died. Their homelessness. Why is these people on the corner of 60th and 22nd living like they're in a home? Come on now. We can do better in Kenosha. Young people, pull yourself together like you're doing. Man, young man, get it together, stay woke. You've been asleep too long.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, suggestions? You spoke before, sir. You have something else to say?
And that's in regard to the young 17-year-old that was able to come into our city with an automatic weapon and not be checked out, taken in. Something should have happened to that young man. He should not be able to walk our streets with an automatic weapon. I think that's the biggest travesty of the protest. I couldn't imagine if a young black man walked out on the street with that same automatic weapon. What would have happened to him? He would not have been able to walk 50 feet without police officers surrounding him. It's ridiculous. It makes me sick that police officers and National Guard were offering him drinks and patting him on the back. It's unbelievable. And I consider that it's a part of systemic racialism. It's intimidation. There's thousands of ways to intimidate people, and that is one of these. He was allowed to intimidate all the protesters, and that's what the two young men that ended up dead were trying to avoid. We're trying to keep him from doing that type of thing. That should have never happened.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, mic number 1. Your name and your ward.
Hi, my name is Shanisa Brown. I am from 36. I am somebody who was born and raised in Kenosha. I think I've only not lived here for maybe 6 years when I was away at school and then working in Milwaukee. And right now I'm a teacher. And so I witnessed everything because that's in my neighborhood that everything happened in. Mr. Blake was shot in my church's neighborhood. His children were our students of my little sister. Okay, so they sat there and watched their dad be shot, and now they have to learn So my concern is with the education now, because now we have even more trauma that our children are being exposed to. So not only have they not been to school since March, which is a lot of trauma in itself, but now they have to fully see that Black and brown people are not really cared about. You know, and I'm not just saying that because like that's just how I feel, but I know that because that's what kids have expressed to me. I don't think I should have to explain to my elementary age godchildren that it's okay not to fear the police. They shouldn't have to have panic attacks whenever they see police officers just roaming down the street, and they do. And so how do we tell these kids that they're safe when we know that they're not? So we have to figure out a way in the educational system, in the schools, how to get them to learn when they know that they're not safe, when there is a police officer maybe standing outside of their building, outside of their school. How do we get them to learn on top of all the trauma that they've experienced, that they've witnessed just in this past 2020?
Thank you, ma'am. Last comment.
Please. Someone mentioned about housing, and I guess I want to ask the mayor, or my question or my concern is that there is no affordable housing in Kenosha. There are a number of nice places that are going up. Recently, where I live, my rent goes up every year to a point where I'm on Social Security and getting a pension that I can barely afford. If it keeps going up every year, I can't even afford that. And so my concern is, yes, there's beautiful buildings going up, but they're not affordable. And so, inside, I think, Mayor, there was years ago when you were in office, and I heard you say that you wanted Kenosha to be like a bigger Lake Geneva. And so that's what I see. We have a lot of Chicago people have come to Kenosha, and it's kind of pushing Kenosha people who can't afford or don't have the jobs to afford our rent and mortgages these days, that we're being kind of scooted out. And so that's one of my big concerns. And so if I can say one thing that Kenosha does need to do to move forward, and that is definitely to continue to have these conversations. Our boards need to look different. And we just need to always be at the table, and not certain people or say the same people all the time. There needs to be different people at the table. Thank you.
So is there any other questions or any other comments? If, yes. Yes, this is the first of the listening sessions. And so what we're doing is, as we said before, the administration office is taking notes from this. And when the last one goes out, we would take all of that data and we would catalog it, and we would create an implementation plan to move forward to implement some of those things that we're learning here. Okay. Next, the question.
Hi, my name is Linda Ruffalo, and I live in either the 5th or 6th ward. My concern about safety going forward when things start to unravel as far as the Jacob Blake case, verdicts, and Kyle as well, being his trial going on, if this is going to incite more potential riots, what have we done to look at how we failed in the past where these buildings were set on fire? And I was able to see live streams of these buildings being put on fire in dump trucks. I could see people walk in, I saw them walk out, I saw the people around trying to either intervene or cheering it on. So going forward, what is the plan to stop this from happening again? When the verdicts come out and I'm sitting at home and I can watch this happening on live stream, what is the plan to be put in place that can be happened, an actionable item in the immediate time? So for safety, that's what I need to know as a citizen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Yes.
Hi, my name is Jillian Burrell Warfield. I own a business in the 8th District. I think that's Bruce Fox, I'm not sure. My biggest question is, when I came into the building, I was asked if I wanted to make a comment, but it was supposed to be a listening session where you guys were listening to us. So I don't know why everybody wasn't asked to come forward. I mean, when I signed up, there was only 20-something. You guys, you allocated how many people you wanted to come in. So I don't know why everybody wasn't invited to come say something, because that's what we came here for, right? Or at least that's what I feel like I came here for. So the whole dropping my name in a box thing kind of threw me off when I first came in here. I'm looking at your questions, and I don't know how it is that you would want somebody to feel about the shooting of Jacob Blake. Whether, regardless of whatever he did, feeling the way you feel about why he was shot and just all of it, it's all inhumane. So when you say that it's okay for somebody to shoot somebody 7 times because they had a knife or because of whatever, you have inhumane thoughts, right? So just say you're racist. Don't even say anything else. Just say, I'm racist, and I feel like you guys should have shot him because I'm racist. Don't waste your breath. It makes me angry when you waste your breath. The riots and the protests and stuff, and I own a business, so I'm against the rioting, but I feel like just like it was said or stated that the police brought in the militia or brought in the 17-year-old dude, I feel like somebody might have paid and brought in people to ruin Kenosha. It's just, I don't know. It's just higher up than what we think. So when that lady said to stay woke, I feel like that's what we need to be doing, is staying woke, and then staying together as a community of Kenosha. I'm from here. I was raised here, so staying together as a community of Kenosha. And what you guys can do is when there's a riot or something, I don't know why people were even able to come into the city. How did they get down 75th Street? I don't even know how they get down 52nd Street. All those things should have been taken care of before, because other riots in other cities, that's what people do. They come to those cities. So if you guys already knew that, then you guys put a handle on that before they even get here. I mean, you guys put a handle on a lot of stuff, so you guys could have took care of that right away. I don't know. It's a lot. The whole thing is a lot. So having people come up and speak and having listening sessions, it seems like a lot for me. Everybody come up and say something so they'll have something to go off of, I guess. Whatever it is, if it's your story, your testimony, what happened to you, whatever it is, we should all be getting up to say something. That's it.
Thank you very much for your comment. We do want to hear from the community. That's what we're here for.
So Mayor, really quick, you've been mayor for over 20 years or something like that, right? So do you believe what's going on right now, all the people you see here in the room, do you believe this just started when Jacob Blake got shot? That's a question. Just nod, yes or no.
Right now, it's just a listening session, but if you want to talk to me afterwards, I'll talk to you.
Definitely. And then last but not least, when you hear people come up here and talk about buildings as they're more important than the civil unrest and someone being shot 7 times in the back by a police officer, I believe that should, ring some alarm bells for you as well, because that's the problem that Kenosha has right now. It's a division of people saying that the community, the buildings, the stuff that can be rebuilt is more important than a human life, especially a human Black life.
Okay, so it's a couple things. One, this is a listening session, correct? So if we're only given 2 minutes to speak, it really shouldn't matter how many times we come up here if others aren't willing to talk, and we are. We have a lot to say, and we're only allowed 2 minutes. I'm just saying, if this is a listening session and it's people who aren't willing to come talk, why is it, oh, you already spoke? No, we allow 2 minutes. Others aren't willing to do it. There are some of us who came here for this reason, so he can listen to what we have to say as a community. 2, I agree with what the young lady said, who's the business owner in Uptown's area. What a lot of people have said, they feel like the Uptown area was burned down on purpose. Reason being, because I don't know if a lot of people may know this, but they've actually had a building plan for Uptown area for 5 years now. See, a lot of people don't do their homework. A lot of people don't try to find out these things, when a lot of us do, because again, in Uptown area, I live there, literally. I'm a Black-owned businesswoman, but I couldn't get the building because it was burned down. So my business is still home-based. Thankfully, hers didn't get touched. You see what I'm saying? But it was just starting to become populated with 11 Black-owned businesses. And now, what are they gonna do? And then when they do rebuild, and if they do rebuild and fix it up and make those buildings, can you please, Mr. Mayor, make sure the rent is not skyrocketed and it is kept as subsidized, so that the people who do have these businesses and wanna get one of these spots can still be able to live and make a living? Because how can they pay this skyrocket rent here when we're already having to deal with skyrocket rent where we live? But like the main issue is really making sure that the young man, the 17-year-old who for God knows why is being allowed to be held in Antioch when he committed the crime here. He's being held in a juvenile facility. When in Wisconsin, at the age of 17, you're tried as an adult. So he needs to be here in Kenosha County, being tried as an adult and convicted. I'm sorry, because if that was my little brother or somebody who made those shots, or me, who's a veteran and allowed to carry, I would have been arrested. Or I would have been shot on the spot for having my weapon out, because I'm Black. Just like the young Black boy who just got pulled out of his mom's car Tuesday by 2 officers. They beat him horribly, picked him up off the ground and said, oh, we have the wrong person. And that baby had to go to the hospital. Is that even allowed in the police force? But see, they don't tell y'all the things that they're out here doing to us. So we have to come to these things and let you know what's going on in the community, because no body cams to prove anything. And when the family takes him down there, it's, oh, you gotta wait for the dash cam footage. And then that's a longer process. It's a lot of stuff it's so much, it's ridiculous. The lady asked me when you did your press conference, what can you do as the mayor to make people, to get people to trust you and understand you care? I told her the real truth. You want us to be able to believe in you and you care about us as a community, you're gonna have to get out here on this ground with us. Come to these community events. Get out here and march if you have to. Don't matter. Help give out food. Help do stuff. Just sitting behind a desk all day isn't helping us make no change, and it's not gonna help us believe in you. Now, I'm saying what other people are afraid to say. You want us to believe in you? Give us something to believe in. Get on the ground with us. It's not that hard. No one's gonna hurt you. No one's gonna ambush you or whatever. I proved that to you already. You were able to walk out of that room and talk to people. So it's not that hard to come and walk with us. Show that you care. Put action behind your words. You can tell us you care all you want. Show that you care. I'm done, because I'm getting rushed. Sorry.
If there's no more other comments, what we're gonna do is we're gonna, okay.
Hello. I feel like this is a setup, almost, to tell you the truth. I'm kind of looking around, and the community is definitely here who wants to talk.
Excuse me, ma'am, what's your name and your ward?
Krista Mauer, and my ward is District 8, Uptown. Business owner, and I live there. So in the setup, I kind of feel like it's like what we call it as a
overlay for the underplay where I'm from, meaning that we have people here that have concerns, but we're limited to maybe the questions up here. And I'm kind of uneasy about that. What I do have a concern with is, or what would make us trust a little bit more and stop the division, would be accountability to boards, all the way from the state assembly, all the way down to the agency boards, who we continue to recycle, whether it be the chief of police, and now he's on somebody else's board in the city, or whether it's the same person being asked to be on all the boards because they're tokens so that we can say they're diverse. It's not okay with me anymore, and it should never been okay. I think we should need an accountability board, if you will. And like Portia said, and I'm glad you spoke to it, but Mayor, we want to see you out here. We want to see you in our neighborhoods, whether it be uptown or even the north sides, down by the lake or in the west sides. We want to see you. We appreciated you for 20 years. I mean, you've been here for a long time. But I think now it's time that we want to see what you're working with. We want to see what you're made of. And really, where do you stand? Thank you.
What we're going to do is, well, we're going to turn it over to the mayor for his comment.
Allowing me to come back up and speak. I just wanted to point out, because this would really, really, really bother me, and it would be super detrimental to myself if I didn't bring it up. I'm glad, Jillian, that you brought up the out-of-towners, but I see it from a different way than a lot of people see it. First and foremost, I work hospice. When you close down the city highways, when you close down access in and out of the city, do you know how hard it is to do a hospice job? We don't have a hospice house. We travel to our patients. We service Racine County, Kenosha County, and Walworth County. We could not get out to Walworth throughout that entire curfew each night that you had access to the city closed. The second thing about people coming from out of town, thank God they did. And I know a lot of people are gonna hear that and they're gonna be like, what the heck are you talking about? If those people did not come from out of town, we would not have had those street medics out there. I broke my leg on the first night of the uprising. It was before street medics got out there. It was the sheriff and my friends who helped me get down to the hospital and get help. When I wasn't out there with my friends the following nights, when someone we know got shot in the eye with a rubber bullet, the only reason he did not bleed out is because of the street medics that came down from Milwaukee. The street medics in Kenosha now had no training before the street medics in Milwaukee came down. Without the street medics from Milwaukee, it would have been a lot messier than what it was. A lot of people would have had way worse wounds than what they had. And some people definitely would not have made it to the hospital because the ambulances were not coming down to the riot spot. And I understand that, and that is why street medics are so vital. You need to consider the pros and the cons when you come up with these harsh decisions that, oh, we're not gonna allow people in or out of the city. What is going on in the city? Who is in the city? If we're not sending EMS, we're not sending ambulances, we don't have enough people in Kenosha. We don't have the training for street medics out in Kenosha. So if you're not gonna take care of us and you're not gonna let people who want to take care of us, we have an issue. You have an issue.
Thank you for your comment.
Brief. Thank you for letting me have another opportunity real quick. I just had three things. One, during the riots, was the courthouse's property value really worth more than the property value of every business that was burned down? Because I watched police drive by businesses getting burned down while 40 cops stood out on a line in front of the courthouse. Were those property values really worth it? Was it really equal to each other? Secondly, medics. Thank you, Diamond, for bringing that up. I was a part of helping the medic team. I'm not a medic, but I helped them. And one of the incidents where I got tear gassed was when I was screaming at the police that the medics were setting up their supplies trying to help people closer to the fires, and I got a tear gas canister chucked right at me while I'm saying this. Why are we attacking medics? Ask that question. If there's ever another uprising, please don't do that again. Don't attack medics. Don't shoot pepper balls at press either. And finally, the last thing I want to say, because I should have said it the first time I spoke, is Anthony Huber is a hero. And please memorialize him. Knowing Anthony personally a while back, I know that the best way to do that would be to rename Basic Skate Park in his name. But please start saying his name. Anthony Huber is a hero. He tried to disarm an active shooter. Kyle Rittenhouse is a terrorist thug.
I want to thank you all for your comments, and what we're going to do now is we're going to turn it over for the mayor for his closing comments.
Well, again, thank you for being here and presenting each of your individual concerns and the concerns for the community. There are a number of things that, potentially I could answer, but that would then detract from what we're really here to do. We were here to listen to what you had to say, put it together, start working as a community through Pastor Peoples and the clergy and a group of citizens, including many of you who will be invited to participate as we start looking at the things that we need to do to make change in our community. We as a community have to change. And a number of issues were brought up today that I think are very important and that we will look at. I will touch on one which I think that in early discussions I've had with people is a major issue that we have to deal with, and that is the mental health one. You are absolutely right, and it is an area that we have to look very hard to change, because it's not something the city can do on its own. It has to be something that needs to be done with the county and with the hospitals, because there is a total need of change. And I'm going off trying to keep this into the perspective of a listening session. I will only tell you that I have been mayor for 20 years, 16, and then I left and came back. I came back because of my concern for young people and the needs there are in our neighborhoods. And those of you who have known me the longest know that that has been an area that has always been my concern, and we have created numerous programs for it. I leave you here today on the basis that I heard what you had to say. I intend to move on a number of issues as quickly as we are able to move on them, and we are going to look at others that you have recommended as to your concerns. So for that, I do thank you, and I did tell the gentleman over here I would talk to him, so I will come down and talk to that gentleman in a few minutes. So thank you again for being here. I do appreciate it, and again, to all of you, thank you for coming. I know this isn't always easy for everyone, but I do appreciate it. So thank you very much.
You made a mystery out of love. Breathe in new life in my lungs. Why would I ever run? You brought new light. Whoa, whoa, but there's no mistaking. You're the only one I want. The only one I want. Come light a fire, burn like the rising sun. I never thought I'd find you, but here you are, flowing like a river, washing over my soul, calling me home. You are a mystery. Whoop-a-ba-da-da-da. Oh, where did you come from? I never knew that love would shine like the sun, shine like the sun. Come